Well, welcome to the 2012 International Go Symposium. I'm glad you could all come. There are going to be more people later on, I'm sure. So, anyway, the first speaker is Chen Zuyuan. He is in China, but he's going to be here in a minute. And what happened was he sent us a video of his PowerPoint, and then I had it translated. So you're going to have a woman's voice impersonating Mr. Yuan. He's the leading expert on the rules of Go. He organized the rules for the mine sports thing in 2008.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to talk about the most fundamental difference in the various present-day rules of Go from a historical point of view. The basic problem in the rules of Go is how to score the game when a round is over. Based on this question, there are many differences in the various present-day rules of Go. The most fundamental difference in the various present-day rules of Go occurs in the scoring of the game. There are two systems of rules: territory scoring, the Japanese style, or area scoring, the Chinese style. Although we all know that territory scoring has logical flaws, it's still preferred by most people because it's simple and practical. So people have tried to improve it. But in reality, the result of the improvements has been that territory scoring is eventually turned into area scoring, as in AGA rules. Naturally, this is what people who prefer territory scoring do not want. And they hope that territory scoring can be improved in ways separate from area scoring, and that territory scoring can exist in parallel with, not be dependent on, area scoring. Although satisfactory results haven't yet been achieved, people still look forward to it, especially, of course, people in the Nihon Ki-in. But can we change our thinking? We know Japanese Go came from China, along with the rules. So when was the rules of Go introduced to Japan? It has been tracked back to the 18th century. In 1727, the Japanese Go World endorsed a document in which there is a paragraph. Go was invented by the emperors Yao and Shun and introduced to us by the Lord Kibi. Yao and Shun were ancient Chinese emperors. Kibi, no Makibi, was a Japanese scholar and a nobleman during the Nara period. At that time, China was in Tang Dynasty. Large number of Japanese scholars were sent abroad to study culture in China. The number of the people reached as high as thousands, and the time lasted over than 200 years. Therefore, Japanese culture were deeply influenced by Chinese culture of Tang Dynasty. Kibi was one of those scholars. He was regarded as the beginner of Japanese Go. In 716, he traveled to China to study and returned to Japan in 735. Actually, Go may have reached Japan even earlier. Whatever, there is a consensus in the Japanese Go world that Japanese Go was introduced from China Of course, Japanese Go rules also came from China, and ought to be the Go rules of the Tang Dynasty. If we can work out what the Go rules in ancient China were, especially in the Tang Dynasty, and how area scoring and territory scoring were introduced, used, and changed, then find out the origin and the relationship between them, and then come back to look at the present rules of Go, our understanding will be much deeper and much clearer. We will be able to find out the history of Japanese Go rules. It has been more than 1,200 years past from Tang Dynasty 8 AD to now. Go rules in ancient times were always passed down by word of mouth, and were usually not clear, uncertain even. Go has written rules only since the middle of the 20th century. In ancient texts, we can find no descriptions of Go rules apart from sometimes a word or two, and very vague at that. The ancient Chinese is also obscure, not only as regards the ancient calligraphy and grammar, but also as regards the specific Go terms of ancient times. In addition, all the texts of ancient Go that we can read have been adapted to modern publications, and so they could have inadvertently been changed and lost their original appearance. Sometimes the adaptation may have generated inaccuracies. The originals of the ancient texts, some more than a millennium old, have become valuable cultural relics, and a direct use of the originals can face many difficulties. Knowledge of ancient Go rules is therefore always unsure for lack of evidence. The author has conducted relevant studies and eventually achieved the goal of restoring the Go rules of Tang Dynasty. The research evidence are the following three Chinese texts. They are the most famous of all the ancient Chinese texts. The first one, Dunhuang Go, handwritten Dunhuang Go Classic from Northern Zhou Dynasty. The second one, Wang You Qingle Ji, carefree and innocent pastime collection from the Song Dynasty, abbreviated here C&IP. The last one, Xuan Qi, Go Classic offering the gateway to all marvels from the Yuan Dynasty, and abbreviated here GTAM. Now let me introduce the texts one by one, especially the first two. The first text is handwritten Dunhuang Go Classic. This book is from the Northern Zhou Dynasty, 557 to 581. It's the last dynasty of Northern and Southern dynasties, several decades earlier than Tang Dynasty. This period was very important. Dunhuang is a cultural mecca in the northwest of China. It was a major point on the old Silk Road between ancient China and Central Asia. Before 900 AD, there were a huge amount of texts sealed in the caves of Dunhuang. Therefore, the texts from 3 AD to 9 AD were well preserved. In 1900, a large number of ancient artifacts were discovered in the caves of Dunhuang. A large part of them, more than 6,000 items, were removed from Dunhuang in 1907 by the British explorer Mark Aurel Stein and are stored in the British Museum. The Dunhuang Classic is one of them. Western people knew little about Go, even by its Chinese name, Weiqi, and so the Dunhuang Classic was neglected for a long time, until microfilms of the Dunhuang artifacts made by the British Museum reached China in 1962. Then the Go world discovered that there was indeed an ancient manual for Go. The manuscript was written in the northern Zhou Dynasty and is the oldest surviving Go manual, the original one, about 200 years earlier than the introduction of Go into Japan. It has a very rich content, especially information about the rules of Go. The following is a part of Dunhuang Classic. In the bottom left, there is a red collection seal of the British Museum. The following sentence in the Dunhuang Classic contains a wealth of significant information on the rules. This is just as obscure and incomprehensible in modern Chinese. To interpret it, we have to refer to the letter manuals C and IP and GTAM. If we translate it directly and literally into English, it reads, Go has a stop road and two overflowing. Stones more is winner. The meaning of the sentence is, both sides place stones on the board until there's no place left to play. Then stop, and the player with more stones is the winner. This is stone scoring. People who are interested in the game of Go are all heard about that. Not discovered by me, Dunhuang Go Classic told us that the ancient rule of Go is stone scoring. But what is the difference between stone scoring and other rules of Go, like area scoring and territory scoring? The only difference between it and the area scoring used today is that for each string of living stones, there had to remain 2 eye points, which had to be deducted when counting. If the basic eye points were completely filled, then the string of stones would die. The term overflowing, in contrast to complete, emphasizes that the 2 eye points cannot be filled. This is the most obvious difference between stone scoring and other rules of Go. In short, only living stones can be counted when a round is over. There is another layer of meaning in this sentence. When counting, the empty territories are required to be filled, but actually players will not do that, because with equal empty territories, both sides can fill in an equal number of stones. It's not necessary to fill in the territories, because they will not affect the count. So the side with more stones already on the board is the winner. Therefore, stop road is a simplification of both overflowing. If both players have equal empty territories, the one with more stones is the winner. Of course, we can imagine another simplification. If both players have equal stones, the one with more empty territory is the winner. Next, let me introduce the second text, Carefree and Innocent Pastime Collection. C and IP is the oldest surviving printed Go book, which was published in the Song Dynasty, and its original version still exists. It's an extremely important book in Go history. In it, there are some famous essays, more than 10 game records of national champions at that time, some ancient game records from the Han Dynasty to the Jin and the Tang, and a lot of jockeys and Zoom Go problems. It comprehensively records and reflects a complete picture of ancient Chinese Go. We can say that C and IP gives us the most comprehensive and profound understanding of the game of Go in ancient China. C and IP is an ancient encyclopedia, the epitome of Go for the millennium prior to the Song Dynasty. This book has a very important value for the study of ancient Go. Fortunately, in C and IP, there are not just words. In addition, there are game records with examples of scoring. There are 4 complete game records in C and IP. It has great significance for the analysis of Go rules at that time. The first one, game by 4 players together in Song Dynasty. The second one, Rotted Axe handle game in Jin Dynasty. The third one, game for a gold-pedaled bow in Tang Dynasty. The last one, Jia Xuan's game in later Tang Dynasty. Let's take the third one, game for a gold-pedaled bow, as an example. It's a game of Go played by 2 emperors appointed professional royal players. The winner can be awarded a gold-pedaled bow. The following is a photocopy of the original. The text on the left says 122 moves by each side. Black captures 6 white stones. White captures 6 black stones. Black has 40 points. White has 39 points. Black won by 1 point. The following is the diagram of the final position. Looking at the game record and the way the game score is expressed, people may feel strongly that this is almost Japanese rules. First, the dame neutral points haven't been played, which is the most distinctive feature of Japanese rules, because the dame have no territory. Then, black captured 6 white stones. White captured 6 black stones. Is information that territory scoring needs. In another game record, the game by 4 players together is even clearer. The died stones there are to be used to fill in. The end result is black won by 1 point. If we use the Japanese scoring rule, the result is likewise that black wins by 1 muku. So these rules are very similar to Japanese rules, but very different from present Chinese rules. Therein we can find the origin of Japanese rules. But there is still a difference from present Japanese rules. First, let's take a closer look at the numbers of the stones. The game record is black 40, white 39. If we count in muku, the number should be 45, which means 6 points fewer for each side. For each string of living stones, 2 eye points must be deducted. Therefore, both sides must subtract 6 points. So where are those 6 points? Based on the stone scoring mentioned in Dunhuang Go Classic, there had to remain 2 eye points which had to be deducted when counting. In this game, both sides have equal strings of living stones, and both subtract 6 points. So the game record is changed into 45 and 39. From this point, we can see that they still use stone scoring rather than the territory scoring in counting. Otherwise, the 6 points needn't to be subtracted. Second, it's the most easily overlooked. Note the phrase, 122 moves by each side. In the upper left corner of the photocopy, the Chinese character 个 means each side. We usually use total 244 moves to describe how many moves are played in a game. both say each side instead of total. That's a great difference. Each side means the numbers of moves of black and white must be equal. In other words, equal stones. It's proved that Japanese territory counting was originally a simplified form of stone scoring. If both players have equal empty territories, the one with more stones is the winner. This is also the present AGA rule. The 11th item in American Go rules required equal stones, which is the same as the rule we used in Tang Dynasty. Therefore, the rule in Tang Dynasty was originally a simplified form of stones scoring. But there is still a problem. In those games, the dame haven't been played. How can there be equal stones if the first player makes the last move to end the game? In ancient Chinese Go, it was not strictly stipulated whether the first to move should be black or not. And of those 4 games, 2 started with black first, and the other 2 with white first. Among those 4 games is Jia Xuan's game. The following is a photograph of the original. The text runs, Jia Xuan, black first. Yang Xichan, white, loses by 8 points. 119 moves by each side. White has captured 21 black stones. Black has captured 9 white stones. White has 43 points. Black has 51 points. The following is the final diagram. The dame comprises 13 moves, marked X. Black would make the last move. So how can there be equal black and white stones? A natural idea is white will make an additional move, that is -1 point, as in AGA rules. As a result, white would lose by 9, but the result is still 8, as in present Japanese rules. How can that be? A reasonable assumption is if black makes the last move, in order to have equal stones for each side, black will remove his last stone. Once territory counting is adopted, dames are naturally not played. People tend to simplify habitually, so the last dame will be ignored. This probably explains why the move 244 comes to be missing in the game of a Go paddle ball. It's because it must have been a dame. In ancient Go rules, compensation was not adopted, so ignoring the additional benefit to the first player to move is also very natural. From this, we can draw the following conclusions. First, the rules used in Tang Dynasty China were very similar to Japanese rules, including the dame. So Japanese rules undoubtedly derived from the Tang Dynasty rules. Next, we know that there are still 2 stipulations in the present Japanese rules. The first one is 2 eye points. The empty territories in Seki cannot be counted. This point against the nature of territory scoring. Although it doesn't comply with territory scoring, it's very discordant with present Japanese rules. However, it was inevitable under the Tang Dynasty rules, which were introduced to Japan together with Go. It brought a lot of trouble on giving definition to Japanese rules. This problem shouldn't happen under territory scoring. Then why it happened? If go back to the rules in Tang Dynasty, we will see that the 2 eye points definitely cannot be counted, because there should be 2 eye points in a string of living stones, which cannot be filled. So the stones cannot be counted. If the basic eye points were completely filled, then the string of stones would die. Under territory scoring, deducting the remaining eye points is not justified, but is very normal in the rules of the Tang Dynasty. It's a living fossil of the rules during the Tang Dynasty embedded in Japanese rules. There's still something left in Japanese rules that is discordant with present rules. The second one is the diagram at left. 3 points without capturing. If white moves first and captures 4 black stones at A, black still be able to play inside of it. The final result is 2 points for white. Well, if black goes first and captures 1 white stone at A, the final result will be 3 points for white. Black certainly wouldn't play here. But at the end of the game, white cannot avoid playing here, so the result will be 2 points for white. However, the traditional Japanese Go rules call it 3 points without capturing, which means there are 3 points for white. This obviously doesn't comply with the present Japanese rules. There is no way to explain white has 3 points, but the rules in Tang Dynasty are on the basis of equal stones. On this condition, the result turns out to be 3 points for white. In other words, 3 points without capturing is derived from the rules in Tang Dynasty. However, Japanese rules came from Tang Dynasty, so the 3 points without capturing is its legacy. The diagrams introduced in the past clearly tells the similarities between Japanese rules and the rules in Tang Dynasty. Also, the 2 instances just now I mentioned clearly proved that Japanese rules keep some content of the rules of Tang Dynasty. Obviously, there are many problems in Japanese rules. If the rules can be traced back to the Tang Dynasty and the equal stones concept can be restored, these problems would no longer exist. There are 2 methods to restore the equal stone. One is AGA rules, by which white will make an additional move, and the other is the rules of Tang Dynasty, by which black will remove his last stone. Both methods are possible. The World Mind Sports Games 2008 rules of Go, which I put forward, used the latter. I explained to the International Go Federation that it's a return to the Tang Dynasty. Let me explain it further. When people encounter difficulties or contradictions in following Japanese rules, please follow Chinese rules to deal with the problems. Let me make a conclusion. The name of Go rules was called stone scoring in ancient time. Later, a rule called territory counting invented in the Tang Dynasty. However, the name was changed into territory scoring when it was introduced to Japan. In the Ming Dynasty, the name was changed back, and then it developed into present area scoring. According to the evaluation of Go rules, the improvement in Japanese rules lies in restoring equal stones. On this matter, the Go associations of America, France, and Britain have found a way to improve it. The result is a trend towards Chinese rules. This is my conclusion. Thank you very much.